Hello, everyone. It's good to see everyone. We'd like to call our meeting to order. And first, we will have invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. Let us please stand. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for your blessings. We honor your promise to us that you will never leave us. Help us to ever be reminded that you are with us, helping us and guiding us. We walk in safety because of your awesome power. Holy Father, we delight in your word, and our dependence is on you. Show us how to abide in you and walk in your spirit as we surrender to your almighty purpose in our lives. Lord, we remain faithful and teachable, so show us the way. Cause us to keep our minds on you. In humility and obedience, we worship you. Grant us courage and hope as we face difficult decisions. Let us know you love us and give us insight, wisdom, and guidance. Amen. Commissioner Varina will lead us in prayer.
Flag of the United States of America, republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, I will ask Town Manager Adam Mitchell to review the meeting protocol for public participation as it relates to this meeting.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Board. It's good to be with you this evening. Tonight's Town Board meeting is held both in person and live streamed on the town's YouTube channel and Facebook page. Tonight's meeting includes a public comment period and one scheduled public hearing. The public is invited to comment in person. When it is the appropriate time, Mayor Harris will call on those wishing to address the Town Board. All attendees who appear in person to address the Town Board during the public comment period should provide your name and address on the green registration sheet by the podium before the public comment period begins. All attendees who appear in person to address the Town Board during a scheduled public hearing should provide their name and address on the white registration sheet by the podium. We ask all those wishing to address the Town Board either during the public comment period or a scheduled public hearing to begin their comments by clearly stating their name and address for the public record. The public is asked to keep all comments to 3 minutes so that all who wish to speak may be heard in a timely manner. To be respectful of those who may have different views on matters addressed by the Town Board, we ask that all in attendance respect the decorum of the meeting by refraining from clapping, making loud noises, and generally showing support or displeasure for comments made during the public comment period or public hearings. Police Chief Smith will be asked to escort from the boardroom anyone not respecting the process, and it is the discretion of the mayor as presiding officer to continue the public comment and or public hearing period if the meeting protocol is not followed. This concludes the protocol for tonight's meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Town Manager. Our next item is item 3A, approval of the minutes for May 19th, 2026 Town Board of Commissioner regular scheduled meeting.
Motion to approve as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second that the minutes be approved. All those in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Our next item is item 4A, a presentation from the North Carolina League of Municipalities Law Enforcement Risk Review, Fuquay-Varina Police Department. More information about this agenda item will be presented by Police Chief Smith. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and Board. I hope everybody's doing well this evening. So I love standing up here and bragging about the good work that the police department's doing all the time. So if I need to be up here every board meeting, so be it. I'm just highlighting all the fantastic stuff that we're doing, and I'm very proud of where the department is right now. So the purpose of tonight's presentation is to share the findings from our police department's recent North Carolina League of Municipalities risk review assessment. This process is critical to ensuring that we are operating with the highest safety and liability standards to protect our officers, the town, and the community. Our department first underwent this process in 2023 and again went through the process in 2026, earning our second award. And I would like to highlight the significance of this achievement. Currently, our agency is one of only 2 police departments in the entire state of North Carolina to hold what we like to call the Triple Crown. And what that means is we hold CALEA and NCLEA accreditation and also the North Carolina League of Municipalities Risk Review. This definitely places us in an elite tier of law enforcement agencies, so something that we're very excited about. But none of this would be possible without the dedicated work of all the police department staff, and especially our accreditation specialist, Marilyn Wagner, who's up here with me today. Marilyn does the heavy lifting behind the scenes, ensuring our policies are not only updated, but strictly in compliance with all the standards. I just want to tell and publicly thank Marilyn, thank you for all the hard work that you do, the dedication, because none of this would be possible without her. She's always, these accreditations and the risk review are continuous processes. It's not one and done. And the good thing about these is it's not only we say what we're doing, we have to prove that we are doing those things. And Marilyn makes sure that we're providing those proofs of compliance in order to achieve these accreditations. So here tonight with us to walk us through the specific results of the findings of the assessment is Joe Graziano with the North Carolina League of Municipalities. So thank you, Joe, for being here tonight.
Good evening. Chief took a lot of my talking points, so I will be brief. So I just want to thank the mayor and the board for recognizing or taking the time to recognize your police department tonight. And I just want to echo that you guys have a rock star to your left here, or to my left. I've known her for a long time when I was at Wrightsville Beach, and when it comes to accreditation, she's a gold star. So for those of you that don't understand what the risk review is or would like to know a little bit more about it, it's a comprehensive review of your police department's policies, procedures, and practices. You know, some of it include your police pursuits, use of force, employee practices, training, and related operations. And as the chief stated, like, it's not just writing words on a piece of paper. You have to prove that you are actually doing the things that you say you're doing. All that happens before I even step foot at the police department. And then I come for an in-depth policy review, an on-site review. I interview agency officers. I do ride-alongs, make sure that your evidence room is meeting best practices, all the things to align with industry standards. And again, as the chief alluded to, this is the second time that the Fuquay-Varina Police Department has successfully completed this. But just to kind of dial that in and put it into a little bit more perspective and to piggyback on the chief's points, we represent a little over 230 police departments out of our members, and only 60 have successfully completed it, not only let alone once. And additionally, as he had said before, you guys are just one of 2 that hold that triple crown from a municipality standpoint. So it's something that you guys can be proud of, something your residents can be proud of, to show that your officers are out there meeting best practices and following what they're supposed to according to industry standards. And as he notes on the bottom right of his presentation, you know, the police department is doing everything they can to also be good stewards of the taxpayers and the town's money. By completing these processes and going through these rigorous standards, we as the insurance carrier recognize that, because it's our job and to make you more defensible when that bad day were to happen. So we recognize the hard work, and you receive a premium credit off your insurance, your police professional line of insurance credit. So it's a big savings for the size of your town. So I just want to applaud the chief. His staff were very responsive the day of. You guys have a great police department. So I just want to recognize them for a few, and I have a surprise plaque for the chief he doesn't know about. So the North Carolina League of Municipality recognizes the Fuquay-Varina Police Department for completing the law enforcement risk management review and proactively serving the community in a professional manner while taking steps to minimize risks to your citizens and officers. And lastly, again, I think it's important for the board to hear this, but I think it's equally as important for your citizens to hear it. I don't want to express enough. One of two municipalities in the state of North Carolina are holding the Triple Crown, as the chief alluded to. Some agencies only like Kalia, but I feel like it's worth recognizing, and the chief and his department, as well as everybody in this room, that the police department, for successfully completing the North Carolina Law Enforcement Risk Review, the North Carolina State Accreditation process, and maintaining CALIA accreditation. This elite accomplishment reflects your agency's unwavering dedication to meeting the highest standards of professionalism, proactively serving the community, and implementing rigorous measures to minimize risks for both citizens and officers. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
At this time, the town clerk will call on individuals who are in attendance and have registered to address the town board prior to the meeting. The public comment period is a time for the public to address the town board on any matter not the subject of a scheduled public hearing. The public comment period is not a time for the town board to respond or engage in back and forth conversation with the public. Those speaking are asked to begin by clearly stating their name and address for the public record. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes so that all who wish to speak may be heard in a timely manner. Town Clerk Wilder, do we have anyone signed up for public comment?
Carolyn Dren.
Hello, my name is Carolyn Dren. I live at 1629 McLaurin Lane in Fuquay. I wanted to come before you today with a very heavy heart, but with a very love for this community. I spent most of my summers here growing up. And then I chose this as our final residence to raise my family here. The line item on the budget for the ball fields at Hilltop Needmore Park. I recognize that the recreational support is needed, and I recognize that the ball fields are possibly needed, but I do recognize that this park is the wrong place, and I am in opposition of that. I'm a taxpayer. Several of you are sitting here because I voted for you. You're welcome. My concern is not just simply about the cost. It is about what we are doing to what we have that makes this area unique for our community. It makes it, sorry, I'm a stroke victim, survivor, so it takes me a second. It's a peaceful, natural environment. When life gets chaotic, it's nice to go out there and sit, breathe, enjoy, watch wildlife. I have a special needs daughter. We have done picnics there almost weekly since the pandemic started. It is a great place for everyone to enjoy. Everyone. And I don't see that this is the right place for that. If only there were other land that somebody had that we knew about, that this could be a great place for children. I am not against having that recreation. I am against the location. I'm against my tax dollars going up. I'm against how this has come about. I'm against being able to say no to the bond for multiple reasons and then have this brought back in as a tax increase. It's going to start at 10 million. It's going to end up at 30. Where's it going to stop? It's 5 acres now. Now we need 7 acres. And in the event that this negatively affects the residents there at Crooked Creek, and somebody decides to file suit against the town, my tax dollars will then be used to defend yourselves legally. And I find that very, very upsetting to even contemplate. So I would like to respectfully ask you to please table this, please put this aside, and please stop and think what this is doing. You all have managed to unite most of Fuquay-Varina. And that right there, I will applaud you on, but this is not the way to do it. Thank you.
Joycelyn Thomas.
Hi, my name is Jocelyn Smith Thomas, and my address is 961 Glen Macy Drive in Fuquay. Mayor and Commissioners, thank you for hearing us tonight. I'm usually not so blunt, nor do I usually speak so fast, but my time is limited, so I'm just going to let myself go. Tonight, manufactured urgency is being used to limit your power as a board. It's being used to pressure you by implying the budget must be passed tonight when it's clear under NC Statute 159, June 1st is the management's deadline to submit a budget to you, but it is not your budget to pass it. Your budget under the same statute is June 30th. You have until then to debate, amend, and vote. You have a month to decide, not an hour. Secondly, more fields might be a future need, but they're not an immediate emergency. The town's park master plan created in 2023 tried its best, but wrongly predicted that in 2025 we'd have 13,000 youth in town sports and over 15,000 by the end of this year. Yet the town recently posted that the actual number in 2025 was 11,000 youth, which is 2,000 fewer than what was predicted in that plan. It shows that we have 3 more years of real data to work with now, and that we have more time to find solutions than we originally thought. During your May 19th meeting, a commissioner asked how you could all have more time for discussion. He was told that after that night, really the only night to make any changes would be the night of the budget adoption, which is this night. Again, that's not true. NC Statute 160A-71 empowers each of you as board members to call for special meetings to discuss items further. You can do so tonight with a simple motion and an adoption during this open session. You have that power. The public feedback on Hilltop Needmore has been overwhelmingly clear since 2022. Preserve the natural habitat. But I know you've been encouraged to ignore our voices. A public records request revealed an email from 2024 in which an influential town employee encouraged the board to dismiss the community's expression of its will as noise that shall pass. We are witnessing a textbook case of creeping commitment. Someone sliced an unpopular plan into pieces and pushed it bit by bit over 4 years. From maps with unwanted features to closed session branding changes to mischaracterizing policy decisions as administrative functions to prematurely issuing an RFK for contractor bids this April and scheduling to interview firms just 3 weeks from now before the budget was passed, all to convince this board that it's too late to turn back. But you do have time. Past administrative maneuvers do not obligate you to commit taxpayer money to a project that the voters have explicitly rejected. You have the power to break this chain tonight. Voting no on the budget tonight doesn't reject our town planners or disrespect their work. It rejects the pressure to give up your power. Voting no on the budget tonight means that you care about making the best decision for everybody in this town. Vote no on the budget tonight. Use your power to call for a special session and buy the time needed to make the right decision for everyone in Fuquay-Varina. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
Nancy Unwin.
My name is Nancy Unwin, and I live at 47. Sorry. My name is Nancy Unwin, and I live at 4705 Linaria Lane. Good evening, Mayor Harris and members of the board. Please remove the $10 million line item from the Fuquay-Varina 26-27 operating budget for the construction of the ball fields and destruction of coveted green open space at Hilltop Needmore Town Park. A great, well-respected person and friend said, "Close your eyes and imagine a beautiful place. Most people agree it is open green space. A bit of fresh air and nature is a proven way to make that mental image a reality, reducing stress and increasing feeling of peace. Step into that imagined space in real life right on the beautiful open green space on the Blue Trail at Hilltop Needmore Town Park. The red trail is very beautiful also. However, it's too isolated for many of us to walk it. Except when my friend Terry, she comes from Holly Springs to walk with me. We walk on the blue and the red trail. I read a few of your submitted responses and reread them in October of 2025 prior to the election, stating your support and interest in the future of Hilltop Needmore Town Park and Preserve. In the interest of time, here are just a few excerpts from your responses. Mayor Harris said, "I am committed to maintaining the natural beauty of the Hilltop Needmore Town Park and Preserve and its open space. The diverse topography adds to the beauty of the park." Commissioner Haynes said, "I'll continue to prioritize parks, greenways, and open spaces as vital investments in our town's future. As always, we will continue to request input from our citizens and the community to help shape the future of this park. I've proudly championed environmental stewardship and sustainability efforts, earning the Sierra Club's endorsement for my ongoing work to protect and promote our natural resources." Commissioner candidate at the time, Voren, said, "I'm a huge proponent of preserving our undeveloped land and dwindling canopy. Thank you for your advocacy. I look forward to the opportunity to work with your group to help preserve our green space in the southern Wake County." During the campaign, you advocated for park preservation. Today, let your vote reflect that commitment, not the policy shift we've been seeing after you were elected. Your policy shift after election will critically and detrimentally impact the Hilltop Needmore Town Park. Our leaders were elected to represent and protect our shared values. Let's work together to protect the open green spaces that make Fuquay-Varina special. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Good evening. I am speaking tonight in hopes that we can somehow get you. Can you? Is that better?
Yes.
Okay. Good evening. I'm speaking tonight in hopes that we can somehow get you to not move forward with destroying our park. What I've heard and interpreted from your responses at these meetings is we are only talking about 5 acres. I think it's an injustice to the people of Fuquay and surrounding areas that we have all spoken and expressed strongly that we do not want these multi-use fields and that there are other locations that this can be put that would not destroy our park. I'm sure that you have seen the following because I emailed this to every one of you. I do want to have it go on public record. Charles Adcock responded to an email with the following, that I'm quoting verbatim. And he wrote, "At this point, I think the best thing would be for the Crooked Creek neighborhood to come together and ask to annex into town. If the neighbors showed a desire to contribute financially to the cost of the park through their property taxes, I really think I can make a lot of headway in moving things in the direction of your desire." My interpretation of that email is that there is coercion involved. In this multiplex being built, I take strong offense to a statement like that being made, and because of that statement, it leaves me feeling distrust for all of you as a whole. Who's to say a few months or a year from now, the 5 acres becomes another amount of acreage used for something else, and before we know it, the park green space and preserve are gone. You all that sit before me have all left us with a feeling of distrust, a lack of transparency. I hope that you all will change your mind and not do this to our town. There are other places that can be repurposed. There's even a corner lot on the corner of Lake Wheeler and Hilltop Needmore Road that used to be a senior home that is flat, abandoned land. Has anyone checked into that space? Someone from the town spoke on Facebook that there's a huge request and need for this complex to be built. When at the last meeting, a mother stood up with her child and expressed that her son is involved in baseball and said that there's not enough coaches, not enough kids to substitute, so that games aren't forfeited. Was that not heard? I hope you will end tonight's meeting with a positive outcome for the citizens of Fuquay by not moving forward with the approval of this budget for the park to be destroyed. You've already closed this bid for design build, but it's not too late for you to stop the process and listen to the people that voted for all of you to have the positions you have. Taking the 5 acres and what it gives to us, such as serenity, the beauty of nature, the green space, where's the democracy in all this? It's truly an injustice. I truly love the town, the community, the environment that I currently live in, and you all are about to take that all away. Even though the voters expressed strongly, and those of us that have spoken during public comments have expressed strongly that we don't want our park destroyed, we didn't want a multi-sports complex. Have any of you walked the Blue Trail? If you have, you would not move forward.
30 seconds left. Would you wrap up,
If
please?
you have, you would not be moving forward and passing this budget this evening.
Thank you for your comments. I appreciate your comments. Thank you.
Michael Giagrasso.
My name is Michael Gingrasso, and I live at 2224 Copper Pond Way. In 2019, my wife and I moved here because it was affordable and beautiful with lots of green space. In 7 years, our house increased in value by 65%, which means also our property taxes has. Home values weren't the only things that went up during COVID. We were told prices for everything had to go up, but never really came back down to pre-pandemic levels as promised by corporations and government. Gas has skyrocketed, bankruptcy filings have increased by double digits year after year since 2022. Duke has been raising rates when we don't really have much of a choice of where we get our power from. And when was the last time the checkout clerk at the grocery store told you how much your bill was, and you looked at your cart and said, yeah, that makes sense? Fuquay-Varina, we have several small businesses closed due to increased costs, mostly associated with rent. Combining this with increases to water bills and sanitation costs will be hurting people more than helping them. Now is not the time to raise property taxes when Fuquay has had such a large boom in real estate and new residents. The increase in homeowners and property values should be more than enough to cover costs without having to raise taxes more. Our taxes will go up anyway when property values are reassessed. When you raise property taxes, landlords will pass those costs on to tenants, both residential and commercial. Raising rent on businesses will then increase costs paid by us, the consumers. And as much as us in the Quay love getting Mexican food while we wait to get our tires changed, there is a limit to how much we are willing or able to spend. Eliminating the projects at Hilltop Needmore Preserve and Fleming Loop Park projects will help alleviate the alleged need to raise our property taxes. These projects seem unnecessary, especially when I heard from parents who have children in these sports programs that say there's a lack of coaches and umpires. Why do they need more places to play when they don't even have the necessary people to play at the places we already have? This is not a field of dreams where if you build it, coaches will come. They aren't even coming to the ones we already have. Fund official coaches and umpires to help current athletes before making more parents and kids disappointed. If parents don't want these built, why are we wanting to pass this? There has been such strong opposition to this budget where it makes no sense to pass this tonight in its current state. Yes to South Park renovations. Yes to Fire Station number 5. But no to the property taxes increase, the thoughtless actions made to Hilltop, and to the Fleming Loop project. Honestly, where would pickleball courts even go? That place needs turf and doesn't need turf and pickleball. It needs maintenance. To end this, there has been a mass outcry from the residents of Fuquay against the Hilltop Preserve project. Enough to vote no against the budget and rework it. Saying yes to this will come across as the citizens being interested in one kind of green, while the board is interested in a very different type of green. Destroying the parts of the preserve won't change the fact that there are more ants than grasshoppers. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your thought into that. Thank you.
Liz Stryker.
So,
Hello, my name is Elizabeth Stricker. I didn't get to finish last time, so I appreciate you allowing me to come up and speak again. So thank you.
3 minutes, thank you.
My address is 5716 Brushy Meadows Drive, Fuquay-Varina. Well, here we are 3 years later, after that epic bond. We are not opposed to children's sports. We never were. That was not a part of the argument. I have seen that on social media from people who work for the town. That has never been on our radar. When we say that we're worried about taxes, we're worried about taxes, and not just town taxes. Wake County taxpayers also pay, and that includes me and every other Crooked Creek resident. Layoffs are happening twice a week, housing prices are surging, AI is replacing jobs, and now Wake County has announced more property tax increases. Voters were clear. They were surveyed. 4 stickers for baseball, softball fields, 4. 68 stickers were allocated to walking trails and paths. The voters were very clear that they did not want new ball fields at Hilltop Needmar. It's too far outside of town. And again, to our critics, not necessarily to this board, but to our critics, we understand. You are fashionably late to the dinner party. But it's not just the taxes, is it? We've been fighting this for years. Have you asked the homeowners at the bottom of that hill where those ball fields are proposed? Have you even visited the Blue Trail? It's gorgeous. It's absolutely beautiful. And it's where our small children, our disabled children, handicapped adults, and seniors can enjoy an easy, flat trail. The word forest is made up of 2 words. For, rest. What happens when you have excavation and grading contractors move in? What happens when you have earthwork and paving contractors move in? What happens if a homeowner's home floods and the lawsuits begin? And kindly, I ask this. Ms. Mayor Harris, are you going to quickly pull out your checkbook and help pay for it? Commissioner Adcock, are you going to pull out your credit card? Adam Mitchell, are you going to pull out your checkbook? No, the voters are going to pay, and the residents are going to pay. If it's not paid by the town, it'll be paid by the county, so all of us will be paying. Please stop the continuous tearing down. Do the right thing and scrap the ball fields at Hilltop Needmar. Please fix and amend what you already have and win the hearts and loyalty of your voters and residents. Elections are just 5 months away. There will be legal, financial, environmental, and political implications in this next election. Mayor Harris, commissioners, thank you for allowing me the chance to speak today.
Thank you for your comments. We really appreciate your comments. Thank you so much.
Lisa Ennis.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. My name is Lisa Ennis, and my husband and I reside at 501 Colmore Drive, Fuquay-Varina. We live, for the record, we live inside the town limits and vote in town elections. And I'm here tonight because the decision about Hilltop Needmar Park affects every resident who uses the park, not just those within the municipal boundary. Last night, a commissioner repeatedly pressed a resident on Facebook to disclose her address in an effort to discredit her participation simply because he suspects she lives in the ETJ. Here's the truth of the matter. Without the residents of Crooked Creek, the very people you dismiss as not town residents, this park would not exist. They fought for it, they saved it twice. These same residents spend their money in Fuquay-Varina every day, supporting our businesses, restaurants, and local economy, regardless of where their physical address falls on a map. To reduce their voices to a not in my backyard complaint is not only inaccurate, it rewrites the history of how this park came to be. There's another critical fact that this board cannot overlook. 2 former Wake County commissioners, Sig Hutchison and John Burns, the officials directly involved in the transfer of this land, have written to you and publicly clarified that Hilltop Needmar was conveyed for passive use only. They stated plainly that the current proposal violates the purpose for which this land was given. When the people who give you the land tell you the town is misusing it, that should matter. Now let's talk about what the community actually asked for. The master plan clearly shows the most wanted amenities: walking trails, passive recreation areas, wildlife viewing areas. These were the top priorities. The amenities residents overwhelmingly supported. Yet the proposal before you destroys or diminishes every single one of these most wanted amenities in order to install a single least wanted amenity from the master plan, baseball fields. How does that make sense fiscally or in terms of responsible planning? And you are doing this while raising taxes and proposing to spend $10 million on something voters already signaled they do not want. This is not responsible governance. This is not stewardship. And this is not what the community asked for in the 2023 bond vote. As for fiscal responsibility, this proposal exposes the town to avoidable lawsuits related to wells, lighting spillover, safety hazards, environmental impacts, and disruption of a passive recreation area. The risks are not theoretical, they are predictable, and if this project moves forward as proposed, lawsuits are not just possible, they are inevitable. The town will spend far more defending preventable legal challenges than it would by simply choosing a more appropriate site. Leadership is measured in moments like this, and at the end of the day, the role of an elected board is not to defend a decision, is to represent the people. And the people have been unmistakably clear. And I genuinely do not understand how the town board can sit in these seats and remain so disconnected from what the people of Fuquay-Varina have clearly and repeatedly said they do not want. At some point, leadership requires listening, not defending a decision that the community has overwhelmingly rejected. Your decision tonight will be remembered long after the meeting ends. Please choose the path that protects the park, respects the voters, and upholds the responsibility you accepted when you took this office.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate your comments.
Dorothy Pantano.
Good evening.
Oh, how are you?
My name is Dorothy Pantano. I live at 3928 Bostwick Drive. I also am a town resident and voter. I oppose the FY 26-27 budget. I do not support a fifth fire department, nor the $10 million Hilltop Need More Town Park, or a 15% increase to my current water and sewer bill. I provided feedback in the Fuquay-Varina Let's Talk survey. I also wrote an email to each one of you and received only one response, which was dismissive at best, with an arrogant tone. You should be ashamed of yourselves. Your attitude and behavior regarding this budget issue and process has been offensive. To say it was a disappointment and disillusioning experience to attend the last public comment meeting would be an understatement. I feel that the entire board here is an excellent example of why there should be mandatory term limits at all levels of government. I will not continue to be dismissed or my voice ignored. I will continue to escalate. On a separate note, the homeowners in the surrounding Crooked Creek neighborhood have endured enough construction and change. There are other options that you seemingly refuse to acknowledge or explore. Perhaps if you slowed the rate and pace and density of your aggressive building agenda, we wouldn't require all these costly additional services. Make no mistake, I am not opposed to children's activities or sports. I am opposed to politicians who do not respect the voice of the majority of the people. I implore you to vote no regarding the current proposed recommended budget. It can be amended to remove the unnecessary line items. I'd like to thank the prior speakers at both the last session and this session. And since I have additional time, my neighbors who could not be here tonight, their 10-year-old son drew this picture for me to bring. And I told him I would gladly bring it in support of this meeting. Their letter to me, signed by both Emily and Michael Lorino, who live at 3929 Bostwick Drive, write to the Fuquay-Varina Town Council, I oppose the Fuquay-Varina 2026 budget plan for $10 million for the Hilltop Need More Town Park project. With a 15% increase in utility bills, along with a Wake County tax increase, budgets are strained and need cuts. Most importantly, this project was voted against by the people of our town, and adding to your budget is disrespectful.
Sorry to
and
interrupt.
Ignores the voice of the
But your
people.
time is up, and we have to move on to the next.
And there are parents of 4 children in town as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Cherie Ward.
Good evening. I'm Cherie Ward, 4604 Springcrest Court. I'm a 38-year resident of Fuquay-Varina. Although we live in the ETJ, my family has supported Fuquay-Varina in many ways. I've worked here, shopped here, we've attended church here, and my husband coached Little League here. We've spent our hard-earned dollars on town-sponsored athletics, classes, and art center performances. I've served on the Chamber of Commerce Board and supported the success of new businesses in town. I'd like to think that my support of Fuquay-Varina would let you consider me a citizen. For the past 10+ years, I have been one of the many supporters of green space that became Hilltop Needmore Park. I've been trying to protect an asset that doesn't belong to me. It belongs to this town. So imagine my dismay, our dismay, when the stewards of this precious asset don't seem to value what you have. This park is quiet and calming and green and full of wildlife. By adding your proposed ball fields, you'll be making this place change far beyond the 5 acres where the ball fields would sit, to the noise of cheers, chaos of cars, and people rushing to make it to the game on time, and the lights that would flood nearby homes. I've also held another role in all this as a member of the Parks and Rec Advisory Board. The town has indicated in an FAQ that they followed the recommendation of the Advisory Board to approve the park master plan. I raised multiple objections to the ball fields and requested that they be removed from the master plan. That request was declined. Further, we were told that the master plan is a concept plan used to identify components and amenities. Specific design elements of each master plan component will be engineered during the design phase, and that this master plan likely would be completed in phases over the next 20 years. Considering that the 23 bond that failed was to be the funding mechanism for these ball fields, and there was widespread opposition to the location of those ball fields, the advisory board should have been brought into the plans after that. I'm highly disappointed that the advisory board members found out on social media, like everyone else, about the town's intent to proceed with these ball fields at Hilltop. I respectfully request that you pause on the ball fields at Hilltop. If the town could take a long-range view and introduce a future bond, including a plan for consolidated athletic fields in one location that the residents could get behind, you would likely see a different response and have a successful outcome. Thank you.
Very much. Certainly appreciate your comments. Thank you.
Ashley Manstead.
Hi, I'm Ashley Manstead. I live at 5608 Brushy Meadows Drive in Fuquay. North Carolina State Representative Aaron Paré wrote to you recently about the Hilltop Needmore ball fields controversy to, quote, emphasize how extremely important it is for the town to maintain an open and transparent decision-making process, stating residents should be confident that their concerns, ideas, and priorities are being heard. So my question is, have you done those things? Have you talked with citizens instead of at them over the past 4 weeks about their concerns, ideas, and priorities? Because the optics are no. So I want to take my 3 minutes tonight to single out some voices and feedback that should not be ignored along with the rest of us. For example, former Wake County Commissioner John Byrne, who voted in 2018 to acquire the park for Southern Wake County, says, I'm not against Fuquay-Varina developing more ball fields, but this particular property was meant to be a passive recreational area and a nature preserve around an elementary school. Those of us who worked so hard and gave so much to preserve this land, including many of your taxpayers and constituents, would like it to remain a passive trail-based park and preserve. This is not the right place for intensive sports use. Former Wake County Commissioner Sig Hutchinson, who was also instrumental in the vote to acquire the park and gift it for free to the town of Fuquay, said, as former chair of the Wake County Commission in 2018, we purchased 147 acres of open space as a park and nature preserve with the trails and greenways for everyone. Wake County then gave the park to Fuquay with the understanding that it would stay a nature preserve. Imagine our shock to find out town commissioners plan to turn this nature park into ball fields. Let's rethink this idea and put these ball fields in a more appropriate place. David Carter, former director of Wake County's Parks, Recreation, and Open Space Division, says, quote, developing ball fields at this site is illogical and inappropriate. The vast majority of parks are designed for either passive or recreational use, not usually for both. Mr. Carter has 47 years of experience developing parks and taught park design at NC State University for 27 years. He goes on to say, the proposed site is right next to a very busy road. Parents coming to practice their games will most likely bring their younger siblings. These younger kids are not going to sit there and watch their older siblings play ball. Kids don't understand traffic and safety concerns. God forbid a child should run into the road and get killed. The fault will lie squarely on the shoulders of the town, as the town cannot reassign liability, especially with a minor. Kids will have very limited access to playgrounds without crossing the street, thus making this site very unattractive for formal development. Therefore, commissioners, I ask, if you won't listen to the people, then listen to the professionals and the Wake County commissioners who gave you this park for free for passive recreation. Remove the $10 million line item and stop this bad decision that will destroy both that land and your legacy. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for sharing with your concerns.
Lisa Perez.
Good evening, Commissioners, Mayor. My name is Lisa Perez. I live at 5404 Greens Flag Lane, Fuquay-Varina. I'm here tonight regarding the $10 million allocation for Hilltop Needmore Town Park. I'm also here because I am concerned about how residents have been treated throughout this entire process. I emailed a comprehensive rebuttal addressing concerns about the Blue Trail, wildlife habitat, environmental impacts, traffic, lighting, public process, alternative locations, and the long-term character of one of the most unique parks in this community. The only reply I received was Mr. Adcock's. Instead of him discussing those concerns, I found myself being asked, where do I live? Whether I pay town taxes, why I care about the cost of the project, and whether my motivations are genuine. Yesterday, Commissioner Adcock publicly questioned me again on CBS 17 with 280,000 people watching. Me again, when I live, he asked me where I live, and ultimately deactivated his account after backlash regarding his inappropriate and unprofessional conduct. I mention this not because I expect everyone on this board to agree with me. I mention it because it reflects a larger problem. Too many residents inside and outside of ETJ feel that their concerns are being dismissed rather than addressed. When residents raise concerns about the Blue Trail, they are told the trail is not being destroyed, but according to your plans, it will be. When residents raise concerns about environmental impacts, they are told studies will come later. How can you continue this without addressing environmental impacts? When residents raise concerns about spending $10 million, they are asked, why do they care about the cost? When residents raise concerns about preserving green space, they are told they must be against youth sports. This is not meaningful public engagement. I support youth sports, many of us do. This has never been about whether children deserve opportunities to play. It is about whether altering one of the community's most treasured natural space is the best solution, and whether residents have been given a meaningful voice in that decision. A resident should not have to defend their address before their concerns are taken seriously. It is abhorrent. A resident should not have to justify why they care about a public park. And a resident should not be made to feel that their input matters less because they disagree with a proposal. Trust in local government is not built by telling people they have been heard. Trust is built when people can see that their concerns are being considered and their merits.
But your time is up.
My time is up. Well,
yes,
thank you.
Thank you. You have a great one. Appreciate your comments.
Steve Gustavero.
Good evening, Board. My name is Steve Guastafaro. I live at 5516 Brushy Meadows Drive. I'd like to start off by saying that I am opposed to the $10 million for the new ball fields, but I would also like to say that I emailed each of the commissioners to ask if I could have a meeting with you. I will say that 2 of the commissioners met with me, each of them for an hour and a half each, and we had very good discussions. And I thank you for that. The other 3 commissioners didn't bother to answer my email. I would like to read from the frequently asked questions document that the staff put out regarding traffic, and it says, where will traffic go on a 2-lane road? The response was, turn lanes and a traffic signal have already been installed for the community center and elementary school based on studies conducted for both facilities. These new features are expected to generate significantly fewer peak hour trips compared to the school. I would like to correct the record on this and show you, the board, that your staff has put out bad information on this. On social media, October 17th and 18th, 2024, we had your voters say, for early voting, love the voter turnout, but this parking is ridiculous. They're parking on the street on Green's flag and on both sides of Shady Greens. It's hard to get by with all that traffic. Also, voted today, arrived about 11:50, stood in line roughly an hour. Everyone was very pleasant. The traffic was awful, borderline dangerous. They almost should have made Shady Greens one way. These streets show that they cannot afford to take extra traffic. There is no way. These streets will be dangerous. Your buses and garbage trucks could not go through and do their routes on those early voting days. They had to turn around. Kids could not be taken to their houses. I'll give you two last things before I close. First off, I would ask you, before you vote, to ask the Lord, if you have a heart of stone, ask him to give you a heart of flesh. And also, I would like to challenge you that when you vote, you ask each of these voters, you stood in front of them, put out your hand and said, I honor your vote. I would like to challenge you tonight, when you vote, to stand up and face them, honor their vote, and look them in the eye when you vote yes or no. I hope you vote no on this.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your comments. Thank you. Thank you for taking time to be here.
Eric Meyer.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Eric Myers. I live at 604 Old Liverpool Drive. I've been a member of the Fuquay-Varina Parks and Recreation Advisory Board since 2023. I'm speaking tonight as a resident of the town, and the views I'm expressing are my own and do not represent those of the advisory board. I actually joined the advisory board on your advice, Mayor Harris, during a conversation we had across our shared creek in the Northwick subdivision. You suggested that I join the board as a way to make an impact to the town that my kids and I call home. Commissioner Haynes, you also provided similar encouragement based on your own years of experience of service on the board. Unfortunately, in my 3.5 years on the board, I have not found it to be impactful to this town at all. I submitted a detailed letter to you all earlier today and would like to highlight some of the concerns here. Over a 2-year period from 2024 to 2025, the town canceled 14 of its 20 scheduled advisory board meetings due to quorum failures from 3 unfilled vacancies, facility conflicts, or staff unavailability. Last month's meeting was canceled, citing no actions requiring board consideration at the very moment feedback on park plans was flooding through all available channels. Advisory board bylaws and public records from key meetings, such as those on June 12, 2023, of the unanimous approval of the Comprehensive Master Plan, are not publicly available. The board is often presented with completed plans and asked to ratify them on compressed timelines without any previous feedback from the board being included. This latest issue of the Hilltop Needmore ball fields is a stark example of these patterns. The board has been cited repeatedly as having endorsed the project, but their recommendations were made on a long-range planning document that do not align with the current proposal under conditions that no longer apply and conditioned on a bond referendum that voters rejected, which included park improvements that have still not been made. In the nearly 3 years since the advisory board was asked to recommend the comprehensive master plan, the ball field project has never appeared on an advisory board agenda. Mayor Harris, these last few years are not your legacy. Under your leadership, the advisory board has filled its 3 vacancies, added 2 alternates to ensure quorum, and met 4 consecutive times to start this year. You and your fellow commissioners can continue this progress by considering this lack of representation in your budget decision tonight, committing to more democratic processes through the advisory board, and by not citing this board as having endorsed plans that have not been through genuine board deliberation. These changes will ensure the advisory board can fulfill its mission to provide community representation to the town of Fuquay-Varina and make the impacts you alluded to back on that creek. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate your comments, Eric. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Maria Swanson.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, City Managers. My name is Maria Swanson, and I live at 2012 Amy Grace Court, Fuquay-Varina. I am here tonight because the town is considering a 5-year operating and capital plan that may affect the future of the Blue Trail at Hilltop Needmore Town Park. I use the Blue Trail every day. It is the closest place I can go to walk in a natural setting on a paved trail. It is also open early in the morning without gates restricting vehicle access, unlike other nearby parks that do not open until 8 o'clock or later. That early access is important for people with early work schedules who would otherwise have very limited access to outdoor spaces. The Blue Trail is far more than a trail. It is a heavily used natural space in our community. Every day and in every season, I see residents using it. Families, walkers, seniors, runners, bird watchers, dog watchers, people simply looking for a peaceful place to enjoy nature and improve their health. It must be hundreds of people using this space every month and thousands throughout the year. I am a supporter of parks, recreation, and opportunities for youth sports. This is not an argument against athletics. It is a request that we carefully consider what would be permanently lost if this natural area is replaced. As communities across the country continue to grow, many are recognizing that preserving accessible natural spaces is just as important as building new facilities. Fuquay-Varina has an opportunity to lead by protecting a place that already provides tremendous value to residents rather than replacing it with something that may be able to be built elsewhere. The Blue Trail also provides environmental benefits through its mature trees and natural landscapes. As you know, forested areas help absorb and slow stormwater, support wildlife habitat, preserve tree canopy, and contribute contribute to the quality of life that makes Fuquay-Varina such a desirable place to live. I am also concerned that despite my efforts to research this project, I have been unable to locate publicly available economic impact study, community impact assessment, social impact assessment, or environmental impact report specifically evaluating the proposed athletic field project and resulting in the loss of this trail. If such studies exist, I respectfully ask they be made available to the public before any final decisions are made. I also believe it is important to acknowledge that the proposed removal of the Blue Trail was included in the 23 Parks bond package that voters ultimately rejected. Therefore, I respectfully request that the town, number one, pause any planning or design work affecting the Blue Trail. Number two, publicly release environmental, community, and economic projects. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Appreciate your comments. Thank you.
We have no one else.
Going to move on to item 6A. There are no items tabled from the previous meeting for the June 1st, 2026 Town Board meeting. Now we'll move over to public hearings. Public hearings are a time for the petitioner to present their request and for the public to provide input and express their support or opposition. Public hearings are not a time for the town board to respond to public input or engage in back and forth conversation with the public. If you wish to speak and are physically in attendance, please step forward to the podium one at a time. Provide your name and address on the registration log at the podium and clearly state your name and address for the public record. We ask that all who address the town board limit their comments to 3 minutes so that all who wish to speak may be heard in a timely manner. First item on the public hearing agenda is a zoning map amendment for Herbert Proctor, Stewart, and Proctor PLLC, 313 Raleigh Street, PIN 0666 078196, REZ 202606, and this item is to be tabled, but more information about this agenda item will be presented by Planning Director Davison.
Thank you. I'm submitting the agenda abstract and supporting documents in the official records of the town. The purpose of this agenda item is to consider a requested zoning map amendment for a total of 0.24 acres located at 313 Raleigh Street from the residential medium density zoning district to the town center residential zoning district. The requested zoning map amendment is consistent with the 2040 Community Vision Land Use Plan and supports several of the land use plan's policies. A rezoning to TCR will actually bring the front setbacks of this property into compliance and significantly reduce the encroachment of the existing structure into the rear setback, eliminating all but one pre-existing legal nonconformity. As the plot plan illustrates, the proposal is to add an addition onto the existing single-family home. On May 18th, 2026, the Planning Board unanimously recommended approval. Before tonight's meeting, the petitioner did request tabling to the June 16th Town Board meeting as they were not able to attend tonight's meeting. Suggested motion tonight is to open the public hearing and table consideration for REZ 2026-06, a zoning map amendment for 313 Raleigh Street from the residential medium density zoning district to the town center residential zoning district to the June 16th, 2026 Town Board meeting per the request of the petitioner.
Thank you. Thank you. Any comment from questions from any board member? So the hearing is now open at the request of the petitioner as stated. Management and staff are recommending that the item be tabled and the public hearing be continued to the June 16th, 2026 Town Board meeting. What is the pleasure of the board?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and second that the This item be tabled until our June 16th, 2026 Town Board meeting. All those in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you very much. Now we move to item 8, the consent agenda. What is the board pleasure on the items on the consent agenda?
Items A, B, C, D, and E of the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and second that the consent agenda as presented be approved. All those in favor of that motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Under administrative reports, item 10A, the fiscal year 2026-27 operating budget and 5-year operating and capital plan. More information about this agenda item will be presented by Town Manager Mitchell.
Thank you, Mayor. Tonight I am presenting to the board for your consideration the fiscal year 27 operating budget and 5-year operating and capital plan. On May 4th of this year, the town's governing board received a presentation regarding the fiscal year 27 recommended budget. The fiscal year 27 recommended budget book, budget video, budget ordinance, and fee schedule were posted on the town's website. Between May 4th and May 19th, the public has had the opportunity to review the budget materials and offer feedback and input. The results of the public input were provided to the town board. On May 19th of this year, the town's governing board held a public hearing regarding the fiscal year 27 recommended budget and 5-year operating and capital plan. The general fund for the fiscal year 27 budget totals $83,316,205. It includes a proposed 2-cent property tax rate increase, bringing the rate to 37.8 cents per $100 of assessed tax value. The 2-cent property tax rate is tied directly to 4 specific capital projects. The budget also includes a proposed $1 per month increase to the sanitation fee, bringing the fee to $24 per month. This is to cover operational expenses as well as adding a new sanitation crew and sanitation truck to our fleet. The Utility Enterprise Fund totals $47,394,858. It includes a 15% increase to water and sewer base and volumetric user rates that are tied directly to a previously approved and disclosed rate plan that is primarily tied to operations and servicing debt on capital projects. The Enterprise Fund budget also includes a $45 increase per unit to the water system development fee and a $218 increase per unit to the sewer system development fee, fees paid by developers upon submitting plans. For both the fiscal year 27 operating budget and 5-year plan, the General Fund and Utility Enterprise Fund include appropriations for operating expenses, capital equipment, capital projects, and debt service. The 5-year operating and capital plan does not forecast the need for an additional property tax rate increase through the fiscal year 31. The 5-year operating and capital plan does forecast the need for additional increases to water and sewer base and volumetric user rates through fiscal year 31 to cover the cost of water supply, wastewater treatment, and debt service associated with major public utility infrastructure investments. Tonight, I'm recommending to the town board by motion to adopt the fiscal year 27 operating budget to include the associated budget ordinance, fee schedule, 5-year operating and capital plan, and pay grade and classification schedule as presented and recommended. I'm happy to answer any questions the board may have.
Does any member of the town board have any questions for the town manager about the recommended fiscal year 27 budget or 5-year plan, operating and our capital plan?
Manager, I did want to ask, regarding that $10 million line item that has been brought up a lot. Could you just clarify and discuss that breakdown a little more, how it breaks down with the Veterans Memorial, the 2 ball fields, the, gosh, I'm blanking on the other, the dam repair, please.
Yes, if you'll just give me one moment to pull that up. So the plan includes, as was referenced, 2 baseball fields to be constructed, as well as 2 soccer fields, an armed services memorial, and repairs to a structurally deficient dam. All $10 million are not going towards 2 baseball fields, as has been mentioned. The baseball fields in today's current market environment, and based on another field that we're building today, we estimate could cost upwards to $1.25 million apiece. The estimated cost for the Armed Services Memorial is upwards to $2.5 million. The estimated cost for the dam repair is approximately $2 million, and we estimate that the cost of the soccer fields are about $500,000. And then we do have built into the budget for design services, as well as funds in there for contingencies, which amount to the $10 million.
How much was it for the dam repair?
Roughly $2.5 million in that general range.
The 2 baseball fields again?
1.25 per baseball field.
And when you discuss the, you mentioned the design and planning, does that include the environmental impact studies that have been mentioned during the comment
Yes,
period?
when we get into the professional services of a design phase, we would expect through our agreement that the selected designer would go ahead and handle any environmental assessments, any environmental documents that we would need to review as a part of the proposed development.
And those will be public, and so we maybe wouldn't even expect to have those before a budget line item was passed. Is that?
That's right. You typically would not move forward with those types of assessments or studies at the cost that they would derive until we knew that the board was committed to the project and appropriated the funds in the budget for the project.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? At this time, I will entertain a motion to place the recommended action on the floor for discussion and consideration. Is there a motion?
Mayor Harris, I move that we adopt the FY 2027 operating budget to include the associated budget ordinance, fee schedule, 5-year operating and capital plan, and pay grade and classification schedule as presented and recommended.
Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Now is the time for board discussion. Would any board member like to begin? If not, I'll call on each board member by going down the line, starting with Commissioner Haynes.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I actually prepared notes for this evening, so I didn't get off track. First, I want to thank all the citizens who came out tonight, showing giving your thoughts about your perspective on the budget. First, I want to thank our staff, management team, department heads, and especially finance department for the tremendous amount of work that goes into presenting a balanced budget. recently they've been in question, and I want to say their dedication, professionalism, and integrity are a main reason why Fuquay-Varina continues to be recognized for strong financial management and maintains its AAA bond rating. Every dollar is tracked, audited, and accounted for, and I stand firmly behind each and every one of them for their work they do each and every day. Over the past several weeks, I've read emails, taken phone calls, met with residents, and spent countless hours not just listening, but reading the concerns in regards to the budget and other issues before us. Listening oftentimes doesn't always mean agreeing, but it does mean taking time to understand different perspectives before making a decision, which we've all heard here this evening. Many of the residents who spoke had differing ideas about the budget and different decisions and thoughts they had. My responsibility as a commissioner is to make decisions that are in the best interest of the entire town of Fuquay-Varina. And I want to say this budget supports our employees. It prioritizes public safety, and I am in full agreement of Fire Station number 5 being built and finding land for that. Investing in its infrastructure, expanding services, enhancing quality of life, and preparing our community for continued growth. I also recognize that not everyone enjoys paying more in taxes, and we don't either. And I can assure you that increases is never our first option. However, responsible leadership requires making investments that benefit not only today's residents, but future generations as well. The increase in sanitation costs is largely driven by higher landfill, fuel, and operation expenses. Water costs continue to rise as we invest in reliable infrastructure and long-term water security. One of the best, smartest decisions that we've made is partnering the Tri-River Water Filtration Plant, allowing us to share costs and resources while ensuring a dependable water source for decades to come. The same long-term thinking process applies to Hilltop Needmore Community Park, which we are still continuing to develop. After extensive research, my goal is to create a balanced park that combines recreation with environmental stewardship. I do believe there is space for trails and wildlife habitat and open space, and also feel that recreation amenities that serve more of our residents can be included in this space as well. I would like to see features, which I hope to see very soon, as a pollinator garden incorporated in the park. I support clustering recreation amenities and not in one area rather than spread them throughout the property to give that aspect of the different aspects. This approach has been proven successful in parks across the country, particularly former golf courses properties, because it preserves larger natural areas while still meeting community needs. I'm also excited about the opportunity to incorporate a Veterans Memorial in the park in the consulting with our American Legion. This space would serve as a lasting tribute to the men and women who've answered the call to serve our nation. I can envision veterans, family members, and residents sitting on a bench overlooking water, reflecting on those who have made the ultimate sacrifice, remembering friends and fellow service members, and simply recalling the experiences and bonds formed during the years of service. I do not make decisions, and I'm saying this as a Brian Marcus Haynes, I do not make decisions based on personal feelings, friendships, or political pressure. I make decisions based on facts, planning, and what I believe best for the community as a whole, while remaining true to my morals, ethics, and values. I understand that everybody will not agree with every vote I cast, and I can respect that easily. However, threatening my position, organizing opposition to my reelection, or anything like that, and actually attempting to target our employment, a business, or livelihood will not influence my decisions either. Public service requires sacrifice of time, energy, days, nights, weekends, and I willingly accepted this responsibility when I filed for re-election. With those threats failed to recognize, is my commitment to serve the community did not begin when I was elected, and it will not end when my time on this board is over. I was serving this community before I had this seat, as I'm serving this community now, and I will serve this community long after I leave this seat. My service has never been tied to a title, and my decisions will never be based on protecting one. Every morning when I wake up, I'm grounded in my faith and reminded in Romans 8:31 that says, if God be for us, who can be against us? My trust is not in a title or position, but in God's purpose for my life and my commitment to serving others. At the end of the day, leadership requires making difficult decisions, not just popular ones. My promise to the citizens of Fuquay has always been simple. I will listen, I will do my homework, I will treat each and every person with respect, and I will vote based on what I believe is in the best interest of the entire community and the future of this town. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much for your comments. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Over the past few weeks, I've had the opportunity to read quite a few emails. I've listened to many of you give input on the issue of whether or not we should build youth athletic fields near the road frontage portion of Hilltop Needmore Park. A lot of reasons have been raised as to why some of you who have spoken are opposed to the construction of these fields. Before I address that, I want to go back to the beginning. In 2019, when the county transferred this land to the town, the language in the disposition contract clearly stated that the town could utilize this land for public uses, a fact that some former county officials have overlooked. In 2019, when we agreed to take ownership of this land from Wake County, we made it clear, and it's in the minutes of our meeting, that we discussed that public uses of this land would include utilizing the property not only for passive park space, but possibly also for active park space, as well as other uses, to include possibly building structures there on the park. The town, however, did place a high priority on preserving the majority of this park for passive recreational uses. And currently, after the county constructed a school and we constructed a community center, we still have over 140 acres in the current passive state that it is in. And our taxpaying citizens have spent close to $3.3 million preserving and improving this park. We are proud of our park, and we place money into our park in its preservation. After the development of these 4 youth athletic fields, we would still have about 137 acres of land still be utilized for passive nature type of park, meaning that we will utilize only about 3% of the current land for the proposal. This board discussed this item. We looked at alternatives, and we decided to move forward and place this item in the budget, knowing that there would be some opposition to it. We have a proposed $10 million line item that was just covered that includes not only 4 youth athletic fields, but it provides for much needed maintenance on a dam within the park, and it provides for the cost of a Veterans Memorial. However, to build these athletic fields at another location, we would have to spend an additional approximately $15 million to purchase the land, make road improvements and infrastructure improvements, which, by the way, already exist at Hilltop Park. So to build fields at another location but still repair the dam and still build a Veterans Memorial, a $10 million project becomes a $25 million project if we have to purchase an additional land. And I've read and listened to the arguments against this project. One of the main issues was the fate of the Blue Trail. While it may have some changes, the plan is clearly for the Blue Trail to remain. Another issue that has been raised, and I've heard many times, was that the citizens spoke during the bond referendum in 2023 and voted down the building of this park. I hate to upset some of you, but those are not the facts of a failed bond referendum. A bond referendum, by definition, is a ballot initiative where a governing body asks the citizens, if they desire, the governing body to raise funds through the sale of bonds, which is a debt. Basically, it's asking the voters for permission to borrow money in their name. I hate to take up the time to do this, but I think it's important. At the time of the 2023 bond referendum, our town posted on its public website what the bond referendum in 2023 was. It states, a bond referendum is a voting process that gives voters the power to decide if a municipality should be authorized to raise funds through the sale of bonds. A GO bond is a form of long-term borrowing in which a municipality pledges the full faith and credit, that is taxing power, to repay the debt over a specified term. GO bonds are generally the least costly financing option available to the town to finance major capital projects. This definition closely aligns with any definition that you can find in any dictionary defining what a bond referendum is. At that time in 2023, the town's website further included language answering a question of what would happen if the bond referendum failed. Here's the answer that was provided at the time of the referendum. The town would need to cap participation in certain youth sports programs to registration that can be supported with the existing facility inventory. Some projects will likely be postponed or eliminated. The town board may also choose to advance a portion of the identified projects through other funding mechanisms, which could mean projects are built in later years and are at a higher price. But most importantly, here's the language of the 23 bond referendum as it appeared on the ballot. Shall the order authorizing Fuquay-Varina general obligation bonds in the maximum amount of $60 million plus interest to pay capital costs of providing parks and recreational facilities and paying related costs and providing that additional taxes may be levied in an amount sufficient to pay the principal of and interest on the bonds as adopted by the town's Board of Commissioners on July 10, 2023, be opposed. Yes or no was the choice. Nowhere in these definitions and nowhere in the language of the bond referendum itself on the ballot do we see language that stated that this referendum was a vote on whether or not to complete any specific projects. Yet, based on comments I've received, some have thought that they were voting yes or no on a specific project. Thinking that does not necessarily make it true. If it did mean that, we would not only be precluded from building any fields at Hilltop Park, we'd be precluded from purchasing more land for athletic facilities, building an indoor sports facility, completing greenways, performing upgrades at Hilltop Needmore Park, or making improvements to South Park, because all of those items were items that we were looking to fund if the bond referendum had passed. So despite what is put out that this was a vote on the project, or that it is a constitutional matter, or that it would be a violation of some law to proceed in the building of fields, is simply not true. We had close to 11,000 young people sign up for town athletics last year, so the need is real. We can add 2 youth soccer fields and 2 youth baseball or softball fields at Hilltop Park for $15 million less than we would spend at a newly purchased site. For me, that is the important factor in this discussion. Build the fields on property the taxpayers already own, or build it on newly purchased land at an extra cost of $15 million of these same taxpayers. I was not planning to add this to my statement, but in light of the comments I've read, both in emails and on social media, I felt I needed to address one other issue. It is clear that we've had some vocal opposition to moving forward to build these 4 active athletic fields at Hilltop Needmore Park. I have to remind you that I've spent my entire professional life in a field where I had to make decisions that were unpopular with a few and decisions that were unpopular with many. This decision tonight is no different for me. While I've heard from those who think we should move forward and build parks, the most vocal voices have been opposed, as we've heard tonight. But for me, this is not a popularity contest. For me, it's all about making a decision that I think will be best for all citizens, to include the close to 11,000 young people who participate in our sports programs, a number that's projected to keep on growing. It's about the future, not just the present. Trust me, these decisions are hard. It's not popular to raise water rates right now, but it's necessary so we can pay for future water infrastructure to meet our future water needs. And it's very obvious to me that for some it's not popular to build 4 youth athletic fields as proposed in our budget. But to me, it's the right decision for the future of our recreational needs and for saving money for our taxpayers in this year's budget. My decisions come down to what I perceive to be the best decision for this town as a whole, and not what is the best decision for me personally or politically. Integrity for me in the performance of my duty has always been a highly valued principle. To be swayed by the loudest voices or to be swayed by trying to please everyone instead of voting on what I honestly believe to be the right thing for this community would be a violation of those very principles that I value. To me, that is what all of this boils down to. I'll yield the floor back to you, Mr. Mayor.
Commissioner Adcock.
Issue to me, I think you said last meeting, is very complex. And you and I have served a lot of years as commissioners on the board, and now you are the mayor. There are a lot of things that go into my mind. But in the past, one of the things I always wanted to know was where the mayor stood on it. And so before if you want me to speak, I will, but before I do that, I'd like to hear from the mayor, because that's something that I take into how I make my decision. Okay?
Commissioner Warren.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I want to apologize. I haven't, prepared comments, and part of that's because I didn't know exactly what I would say anyway before tonight. I want to reiterate first Commissioner Haynes' point about listening. I think I can speak for the whole board when we say we've read each and every one of the emails, and just because, you know, we are listening to what you're saying, and it doesn't mean we agree or disagree or anything else. So I want to, you know, we've received a lot of criticism about not listening or just ignoring the will of the voters, and I want to put that aside. And first of all, say that we are a political governing body. That's two words, politics and governance, that we have to consider kind of, you know, how do these go hand in hand with each other? So I want to, you know, last time I said I was too tired to discuss about, you know, my thoughts on the issue, and so I think that people deserve to understand how I arrived at my decision. So I'm a, you know, physicist by trade. I look at data, numbers, facts, and figures. And first of all, you know, the management and staff have put together a budget. You know, they've worked on this for 6 months, and they've done an incredible job, and they have kept us up to date with everything that they have done. And any question that we ask them, they come up with an answer right away. And so that level of professionalism is hard to argue with. So, second of all, you know, going back and looking at all the town master plans and everything that has been on the table, you know, over the years, I think this has been an ongoing process for, what, since 2018? Something, almost a decade now. And I've been on this board for 6 months. And citizens today raised a lot of concerns that I think are very valid and worth looking at, and there will be time in the plans to address these concerns, such as a traffic study, an environmental impact study, and so on. So, what am I trying to say? So, all that to say is what the politics of the situation, the political part of political governing board, is asking me to kind of reject the plans that have been, a 2018 plan, I believe, from the Crooked Creek neighbors, a 2022 plan, the Hilltop Needmore town or master plan, another parks plan, and then also to consider the 2023 budget, the bond referendum. And of course, we know that failed. And to that point, I would reiterate Commissioner Smith's point that this was a bond referendum and not a referendum on baseball fields at Hilltop Needmore Park. So I think it was Saturday or Friday that the management and staff had been working diligently to put together an FAQ, you know, going through several emails and whatnot, and kind of trying to elucidate the questions that the community had put together. And they did a terrific job, and, you know, they delivered that FAQ and they brought the receipts with them. And so in my good conscience, I cannot deny that and turn that down. And, you know, when I saw the response from the community to the FAQ, you know, that is probably what solidified my decision, because, you know, we have to work with the facts, we have to work with the history, we have to work with, you know, what we have been given by boards before us. And so for that reason, as difficult as this decision has been, and I can tell you that it's not been easy. I've been thinking about it 24/7 for the last 3 weeks. I'm doing this against, you know, what some political folks are saying, what my friends are saying, what people who donated my campaign are saying, but I have to say that I'm going to vote in favor of this budget as it is.
Mayor Pro Tem Gardner.
Thank you. I'll do that in a minute. It is indeed one of the greatest honors of my life to have the opportunity to serve the town of Fuquay-Varina that I love so much as a town commissioner in my 11th year and as Mayor Pro Tem the last 3 of those years. I am grateful that the voters have given me this chance, and I am proud of the body of work our town boards have produced in this time. I have great respect for each of the commissioners I have served with in every iteration of this board during my years of service. Though we are different in many ways and have unique gifts that we bring to our board service, we are generally able to find agreement in what we think is best for our beloved community. I will have to say this has been the most robust, emotionally charged town budget season of all these years. Oftentimes, nobody even shows up at a public hearing on the budget, and it's a disappointment to me because I love to hear from you and hear what you're thinking. In 2019, Wake County gifted the town of Fuquay-Varina with a surplus 143-acre tract of land with a deed that specified that it was to be used for a public purpose, also stated which could include active recreation, passive recreation, or public structures. You heard something different from one of our commissioners from Wake County. I would encourage you to get a copy of this deed, and you can see exactly how it was stated and what the deed restrictions were in that document. The master plan, Fuquay-Varina adopted a town master plan in 2022 as a park, which included a mix of active and passive recreation for the site. And I think there was another iteration of a proposed plan that someone connected with the group of citizens who were promoting the acceptance of this plan for Fuquay-Varina. And it has some active recreation in it too. In 2023, the town proposed a $60 million Parks and Recreation bond referendum for the purpose of parkland and infrastructure needs. As has been already stated, that was not a referendum on the Hilltop Needmore Town Park. But I think many people took it as that. And one of the results of that was that $60 million bond proposal had about $16 million that had to do with the plan for the Hilltop Park. The other 84% had to do with other needs in the area of recreation and infrastructure. So defeating the bond issue defeated $30 million that would have been for us to go out and look for land for parks and active recreation that we needed so desperately. So we had to find other ways. So after the bond vote failed, the town moved to an incremental plan to fund urgent needs in our youth sports program. Since that time, the town has been looking for affordable parkland to fulfill these needs, but to no avail. Many comments have been made on social media that we had not done our homework. The town had not done its homework looking for other property. I promise you, we've spent 3 years looking for other property that was appropriate for the needs and that we could afford, because in that 3 years, real estate costs went up, and we realized that for most of these tracts of land that would be appropriate for what we were trying to do, getting the utilities and the infrastructure in, the cost of doing that had gone up, so that by the time you added those two things together, it was already out of our price range for what we could get to do it. So we even got to the negotiating phase with a couple of them, but with increased land prices and the increased cost of bringing utilities to the possible sites for the properties we found that might be suitable, they were again out of our price range before we could even get to the design phase. By budget time this year, we were running out of options. I would like to say a big thank you to all persons who have reached out by speaking, texting, emailing, or calling our town board members concerning the town of Fuquay-Varina's proposed fiscal year 2026-2029 proposed budget. Especially, thank you to all who answered my plea for any suggestions you might have on alternatives for the location of needed active recreation amenities identified in the proposed budget. I had hoped you would possibly have some ideas that we had not considered, but as it turned out, there were no forthcoming suggestions that the town had not already checked. So here we are. We need a place for 4 urgently needed athletic fields, urgently needed repairs to the Hilltop Needmore Town Park Lake Dam. I mean, what will we do if that dam is breached? What will we do? That could be a tremendous, tremendous hardship on this park. That's $3 million of the, almost $3 million, 2.5 of the $10 million in the budget. One thing we haven't talked about at all in this process, many of you have talked about how beautiful this property is, and it is. It is an environmental gem. It does everything you've described. It just is really beautiful. But it hasn't always been like that. So I'd like for you to think about how it looked on May 21st, 2019, when it was deeded to the town of Fuquay-Varina. The fairways were neck high with weeds and undergrowth. The cart paths, which are, of course, our walking trails, were covered. You couldn't see them. We got that, think about, I kept saying to somebody, we got that land just about this time in the budget season in 2019. We were at our last budget meeting that we were going to go over the budget before we brought it to the town board meeting and acted on it. We had already determined what pots we were going to be able to put some money in and how much we were going to be able to put in each pot. And we got this land on, as I said, May 21st, 2019. And at that meeting of department heads, it was a budget meeting, budget meeting, of course, that meeting of department heads and town board members, we were told that the town had done an assessment of what was needed to stabilize, not do anything special, stabilize the park. And it was $500,000 that we had not budgeted or counted on in any way. You'd be surprised that some of the very people that are sitting at this table that you have maligned in social media led a charge to approve that $500,000 and again directed the staff to find it somewhere. And they did. And by July, we were working on that. We had 2 personnel, two people, and some really heavy equipment that could handle what it had to in those fairways out working in that park. Everybody talks about how beautiful it is, and I want you to understand we do want to be your partner. We do love this park, or it wouldn't look like it does. It wouldn't be the beautiful place that it is because this town has taken care of it with staffing and maintenance since we got it. $2.1 million. Park improvements, $673,000. The community center improvements, and with that we made sure there were restrooms that walkers could access without having to go in the building, that they could access from their walk along the trails. Clubhouse repairs, $506,000. Of course, we also put $30 million in the community center, but in the deed and the accompanying papers that came with the deed, the school project and we had already had partnered with the school, which you have said you want us to do that. We'd already partnered with the school to be part of their recreation equipment and everything with our community center. So those things were done as part of the deed. they came with the deed. You know, that was not something that was taken away from the people who love the park. So just think going forward, whether this park, you know, how we have, I certainly want it to remain primarily trying to, you know, preserve the beautiful nature things that are there. But I do think that when we have no other options that we've been able to identify in 3 years, because we have had our hands tied for what that bond issue could have provided for us to work toward the future for our recreation programs. I think that this is the only answer for us. 5 acres and leaving 137, I think, something about like that. I have to vote for us to do that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If there is no further discussion by members of the town board, I will call the question.
Mr. Mayor, I do have 2 more things. As we were talking this evening, we heard about the safety concerns. And as I heard about the safety concerns, I seen some stuff on social media and about crosswalk access. So I went to every park we had. I went to Fleming Loop. When we're talking about entrances and kids getting hit, kids getting all this stuff. When we come into Fleming Loop, there's a path that walks across where walkers walk all the time with their kids. It's at the entrance of Fleming Loop. If you go to South Park, the way to get from the South Park Community Center to the ball fields, you have to walk across a driveway. If you go to Honeycutt Park, if you go to most of our parks, there's areas where you're gonna have to walk across that. So I don't see that as a safety concern for just this one park if it's not concerns for all the parks. And we haven't had anybody getting hit at any other parks. Other things is lighting the ball fields. I went to all the ball fields that are close to neighborhoods. If you go to South Park, our largest ball field is on the back side of a neighborhood. Also, the other 2 fields that I played baseball and t-ball on, outside of being an action park, are right beside a senior living facility with lights as well. We haven't had any issues there. If you go to Fleming Loop with lights, there's a neighborhood behind that. So I've heard a lot of things, and you know, and if I can literally take probably a whole day to address a lot of the concerns that we've heard, and can show you with facts that these are things that are already happening in our parks, and it's not specific to one park, but these are things that are already happening and they're working along in our community. So when we talk about what stuff is not going to work, you know, as I say all the time, I'm looking at the whole scope of things, as a whole scope of all the citizens as well. So I went to all the parks and seeing how lighting is at most of our parks. You know, even our high school fields are abutting neighborhoods with lights as well. So that light and noise and everything, yeah, people love hearing that noise. I love hearing the noise of kids screaming and yelling and cheering people on from my neighborhood. I hear it all the way from the high school on the big game nights. So those things I think brings community together as well, as you hear that when you're just outside on your back porch. You know, I love hearing the music coming from Follow Me to Fuquay at my house. And so it's those things that, you know, we've heard as many concerns as well, but, you know, these are things that we have already addressed and have going on in our community, and it's working. So, you know, I want to address those 2 things because I've heard them multiple times, and I want to address those because, you know, I want to make sure and bring some clarity to those. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
any other further discussion?
I did forget one final thing. I was trying to make that point and it went right out of my mind. But that is, I am committed in the future to seeing that this park remains beautiful and we preserve as much of it as we can. But guess what? Fuquay-Varina is the one that has to pay for that, and nobody has said anything about it. I know that. The taxpayers of Fuquay-Varina will be paying for that, exactly. Regardless of where they live.
You out of order, madam. One more, then I'll have you removed.
Thank you, Mayor.
Please finish.
I'm done. Thank you.
If there is no further discussion by board members of the town board, I will call the question. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed
No.
signify by saying no.
No.
The motion carries. All right, we move to item 10B, order to levy and collect taxes, Wake County. More information about this agenda item will be presented by Finance Director Stevens.
Mr. Mayor, before we continue, I would move that we take a 5-minute recess.
Are you okay? 5-minute recess? We'll do that now. Thank you. Back on. We are now at item 10B, order to levy and collect taxes, Wake County. More information about this agenda item will be presented by Finance Director Stevens.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Tonight before you, now that we have a budget passed, we need to assign our tax collector for the fiscal year 26-27. GS statute 105-349 requires every local government that levies taxes to appoint a tax collector. For a collector to have authority to use enforced collections for a given tax levy, that must be ordered annually by the governing board to collect those taxes under GS 105-321B. The town has historically used Wake County to collect its property taxes, and that's because Wake County is very efficient and effective manner and has one of the highest collection rates in the state of North Carolina. So our recommendation tonight is to adopt the resolution authorizing the Wake County Tax Administrator to levy and collect real and personal property taxes on behalf of the town of Fuquay-Varina for fiscal year 26-27. And I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Questions? Do I hear a motion to approve the recommendation by the staff?
So moved.
Your second?
Second.
It's been moved and second that we adopt the motion, the resolution authorizing the Wake County Tax Administrator to levy and collect real and personal property taxes on behalf of the town of Fuquay-Varina for the fiscal year 2026-27. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to ask a question real quick. If that's.
Have a question?
Just so.
All right, we'll entertain your question.
Thank you. So just, I think I was reading somewhere that the county charges 0.8% on the levy, or I guess what the town collects. So I'm just kind of trying to think of that in terms of what kind of numbers that is, and I think my estimate came to about $400,000, which that seems like a lot, but you know, I think about the fees you pay just for using your credit card to pay your rent or your bills or whatever, and that seems like a pretty darn good deal. But I was just hoping that we get that in absolute numbers, if that.
No, that is the estimate that we've used for our budget. We budget for those collection fees, and in the past, because one of the reasons you would want a county to collect your taxes too is, one, they send out their own taxes, so the citizens don't have two tax bills. It's on one bill. And well, Wake County, if a property owner doesn't pay his taxes, it's going to be all his taxes. It's not going to just be Fuquay. So they do an enforcement. It's just an efficiency of operations that, you know, and I believe fiscal year 25, their collection rate was 99.82. And, you know, that's probably the highest in the state as far as the collection rate. So, and the cost us to hire probably 2 full-time tax people to do that would be, you know.
Yeah, I guess we don't want to like set up an FVRS or something like that either, right?
No.
So, no, I think I just want to point that out. I think that's a very, you know, efficient way of doing things, and that rate. I mean, when breaking it down by numbers, which some people probably want to do, like myself, you know, it can sound high, but I just want to make that comparison and show that 0.8% is a pretty darn good deal for what we're getting out of it. So thank you.
The motion was stated. I'll state the motion that was properly second, and the motion was to adopt the resolution authorizing the Wake County Tax Administrator to levy and collect real and personal property taxes on behalf of the town of Fuquay-Varina for the fiscal year 2026-27. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Motion carries. Okay, we have item 10C, which is a contract award, construction manager at risk, CMAR, South Park Community Center renovation, parks, recreation, and cultural resources. For more information about this agenda item, it will be presented by Parks and Recreation Director Cox.
Good evening, Board.
Good
The
evening.
purpose of this agenda item is to consider an award of a contract with Edifice Construction for CM at Risk services for the South Park Community Center renovation project. At the May 19th Town Board meeting, management and staff recommended and the Board selected Edifice Construction as the best qualified firm to serve as a CM at Risk for the South Park Community Center renovation project and authorize the town manager or designee to negotiate the scope and fee. The proposed contract defines a pre-construction scope of services that includes schematic design, design development, construction documents, cost estimating, bid documents and bidding, a building scan of existing conditions, site logistics, mapping and site survey, and an allowance for site for existing conditions investigation. At the conclusion of pre-construction services, Edifice will present the town with a GMP, guaranteed maximum price, for review and authorization to proceed with construction. The duration of the pre-construction service is expected to take 8 months. The proposed fee for pre-construction services is $44,510, which is consistent with industry norms for pre-construction services for public projects of similar scope. Staff recommends approval of the negotiated scope and fee agreement subject to the town attorney's review as to its form. As a fiscal note, the pre-construction service fee of $44,510 is funded by the project ordinance and budget amendment that was approved by the town board at the April 21st town board meeting. Town funding for construction of the South Park Community Center renovation project is included in the approved FY27 budget of $6 million. The recommendation by motion is to award a contract to Edifice Construction for the South Park Community Center renovation project as presented and recommended, subject to the town attorney review as to form, and authorize the town manager or his designee to execute the contract on the town's behalf. And I'll be happy to answer any questions the board might have.
Any questions from Parks and Recreation Director Cox? If not, do I hear a motion to award the contract?
Mayor, so moved.
Second.
Is there a second? It's been moved and second that we award the contract to Edifice Construction for the South Park Community Center renovation project. All those in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now we're at item 11A, the manager's report. This is other business. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. A few items to report to the board this evening. First, as it pertains to the police department, cadets Christina Correa and Christina Thompson graduated from the Johnston Community College's BLET program this past Friday. Both were part of the Police Explorers program and are transitioning into the Fuquay-Varina Police Department. So we look forward to administering them their oaths of office soon. The police department held its 5th annual mental health awareness event at the Gold Leaf Shopping Center this past Saturday. Several vendors were in attendance to offer resources to the community. The Fuquay-Varina Police Department hosted its first Street Safe event on Saturday, offering education for teen drivers and parents and hands-on experience behind the wheel, including several driving drills. 38 teen drivers graduated from the program, and we were pleased that WRAL and ABC 11 were able to cover the event. Intern Raymond Brown recently began his internship with the police department. Raymond attends Campbell University and is completing his internship as part of a criminal justice program. As it pertains to our fire department, fire engineer Martin Baxley has been promoted to fire captain to fill a vacancy. We plan to officially pin badges on Martin and Josh Sorrell, who was recently promoted to fire captain at the June 16th town board meeting. We'd like to congratulate Tasia Maddox and Landon Thompson, who have completed all of their necessary requirements and have been promoted from firefighter 1 to firefighter 2. Firefighters Caleb Thompson and Joe Thiem recently completed a 40-hour master level truck company operations class at the Greensboro Fire Department. This class was taught by instructors from 6 different states and emphasized hands-on tactical training in search, ventilation, and forcible entry. And the town received the final Hurricane Helene reimbursement payment from the North Carolina Emergency Management last week, closing the book on the town's 2024 FEMA missions. As it pertains to Parks and Recreation, youth sports registration is now open for residents for the fall season. We are encouraging folks to register early as spaces are limited. Non-resident registration will open on June 15th, space permitting. Just in the first day, we had 415 registrations in youth sports for the first day. The Arts Center is planning the upcoming year of classes and performances. The dates for the fall season will be announced, and box office purchases will open in early July. As it pertains to our Human Resources Department, open enrollment for town employee benefits began today and runs through June 15th, and the Employee Spring Picnic is tomorrow at 11:30 at the South Park Community Center. The intersection of Northeast Judd and Broad Street has reached substantial completion. The contractor is finalizing site cleanup and will address any punch list items from the final walkthrough with NCDOT. The project significantly improves traffic capacity for all movements at the intersection by adding several lanes to the eastern side, including an additional through lane and a second right turn lane. The total project cost was $3.3 million, entirely through external sources, $2.4 million via a LAP grant that we were successful in achieving, and $900,000 from private development, with no town funds required for these intersection improvements. As it pertains to our planning department, the inaugural Planning Citizens Academy kicks off this Thursday and runs for 4 weeks. We have 25 town and ETJ residents that will learn about the development process and the planning department's work during the 4 sessions in June. In public utilities, Cadrick Graham started today as a water resource specialist 1. We want to welcome him to our team. We want to remind everyone that we are still in stage 1 water restrictions, and we ask everyone to do their part with conservation. Paul Wise in our inspections department passed his level 2 state building exam. We want to congratulate him on that achievement. And our communications department is increasing public awareness of our town programs. They recently put together a video reel featuring our public works team demonstrating recycling do's and don'ts to the song No, No, No by Destiny's Child. It has gone viral, racking up 2.6 million views and 26,000 likes. But more importantly, it's actually working. Residents are commenting that they're learning a lot, including the important reminder that pizza boxes do not belong in the recycling bin. I'd also just mention that the North Lakes Parking Community Meeting will be held Thursday at 6 p.m. in the town boardroom, and we should get a better timeline for HVAC repairs tomorrow to make determinations about meeting location. And we will communicate that to the HOA along the way. And with that, Mr. Mayor, that concludes my comments for the board and remarks for the board this evening. I did include in your agenda materials a reminder that Coffee with a Cop will be held at the Mill Wednesday, June 3rd from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. That's on South Main Street. The Fuquay-Varina Chamber of Commerce will host Run the Quay this Saturday, June 6th from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. And that concludes information for this evening. Mr. Mayor, I'm happy to answer any questions that you or the town board may have.
Questions of the town manager? Not, if there are any more board comments, I'll just go down the list. If there are any additional comments, Commissioner Haynes, any other comment?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. There's been so much going on, but I want to highlight one event I was able to attend last week at Fire Station number 4. They had the enlistment ceremony for our high school students who are graduating. It was just amazing to see those young people. I know one of the young men is going to the Navy and got a $30,000 signing bonus, and I think we have over 6 or 7 students going to the Marines We have some going to the Air Force as well. So just, I got some other comments when I posted, like, what happened to the Army? But that was that was kind of funny. And we also have somebody who's going into EMS services. So that was a great event, just to see that and recognize those students who are stepping into that line of service that many people just don't do. So I'm thankful for each and every one of them, and I wish God's blessing on them as their travels take them all over the world. And I want them to always know they have a home here in Fuquay-Varina. And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Commissioner Adcock?
I don't have anything to say.
I don't really have anything to add, except it looks like we got a pretty busy week or two coming up with some ribbon cuttings and a few events that are on the calendar. Look forward to seeing some of y'all at some of these events.
I just want to add, obviously we took a tough vote tonight. And one of the themes I had seen kind of in the emails and social media and everything that upset me was suggestions that we should somehow not trust our management and our staff. And that, I think, upset me the most about the whole conversation. And so I'll kind of refer back to the beginning of the agenda. Today we saw a presentation by the league and just exemplifying, our law enforcement and just how much the town places resources into our law enforcement. And the same can be said about our, fire department with that level 1 rating. And so, when people suggest that maybe we shouldn't seriously take the recommendations of our management and staff, like, I point to those kind of outstanding indicators that, really, I think, cement my trust in what we do. So thank you. I really thank you. Fuquay-Varina we have a lot to show, and you make us some great recommendations and you bring us some great suggestions to the board, so I appreciate that.
Mayor Pro Tem Gardner.
I don't think I have any further comments.
No further comments. Town Manager Mitchell, there's a recommendation for a closed session.
There's no recommendation for a closed session this evening.
Okay. Well, my closing comments are, serving in this capacity, this leadership capacity, is not easy, and at times we do have to make difficult decisions. But that's one of the reasons why I think sometimes we're drawn to public service, is because of the challenge of making difficult decisions, especially when we know that those decisions may have an impact. And so I admire each board member who made a decision tonight, a difficult decision, perhaps unpopular decision, but in government, you either drift, drown, or decide. And I think that we have decided tonight to take an action, although maybe controversial. We made the decision, we stepped forward to do what we feel is best for the Fuquay-Varina community. So I'd like to thank the staff, thank each commissioner here for your participation tonight. If there's no other business, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved to second that we adjourn. Meeting adjourned. Thank you so much.